Shimon Prokopets, let me bring you back here. You just got off the phone with a source. What are you learning about this?
So the devices appear to be metal. You know, sometimes we talk about pipe bombs, and they could be like PVC, kind of like plastic material. But this appears to be metal. At least one of the devices has now been sort of rendered safe. So they've made it safe. I think they're now in the process of working through the other devices and still trying to really figure out what they have here. You know, I've heard some different descriptions of the devices from different law enforcement folks. But the latest sort of guidance that I've been given was that they appear to be metal. Yes, multiple sort of metal pipes that have sort of somehow put together to probably cause some serious damage. And luckily, still, it appears that only one of them went off. And there's some questions about how this went off. Was there a timer? Was this remotely detonated? It would more appear to be a timer than remotely detonated, because whoever put this there and did this probably wanted to cause some harm and would have seen no one was passing by, so would not have detonated this. So they think this was on a timer. But again, they're still working through it. Right? This is going to be a little painstaking. They have to be careful. Bomb squad technicians working this are sort of trying to be careful, and they have to watch for their own safety and to make sure nothing explodes while they're working on it. And then once they get everything, they can look at it and see exactly what it is, what it's made of, what kind of explosives they're dealing with, what kind of material is in these bombs. So right now, the main focus is to make the area safe, Fred.
It's to scare us, civilians. We're not safe. This is a safe street with good neighbors, but I think it's to scare us. Good neighborhood of good American people. So somebody's out to make their statement, and they don't care who they hurt.
He just fired. He didn't say anything. I asked the sergeant. He said no word. She didn't hear anything, but she did hear about 15 shots or so. And that's consistent with the scene where we believe she was struck at least 8 times.
A gun-toting madman and an innocent bystander were fatally shot during a chaotic Friday evening shootout in West Philadelphia that also left 2 police officers and 3 civilians wounded. The unidentified shooter walked up to Sergeant Sylvia Young's squad car in the Walnut Hill neighborhood around 11:20 p.m. and shot her as many as 8 times in the arm and chest through an open window. He said nothing as he fired, according to Police Commissioner Richard Ross. After shooting Young, the suspect fled and began shooting at random into a nearby bar, striking a security guard in the leg. As police descended onto the scene, the suspect grabbed a woman and used her as a human shield before shooting her in the leg and running off again, this time firing several rounds, striking a man and a woman sitting in a parked car. The pair were rushed to a hospital where the woman was pronounced dead and the man remains in critical condition. Police eventually cornered and killed the gunman, but the police believe a second suspect may be at large. Sergeant Young, a 19-year department veteran, miraculously survived thanks to her protective vest and was listed in stable condition. Commissioner Ross added a note was found near the crime scene. It is believed to be the shooter and contained anti-police rhetoric.
It might be time to build a fallout shelter and stock up on the emergency supplies. Experts are saying a huge meteor is rocketing close to Earth with the power of 3 billion atomic bombs. China's Purple Mountain Observatory discovered the massive asteroid using Asia's largest telescope, determining the meteor was passing Earth with a range of 18.8 times the distance between Earth and the Moon. The asteroid, named 2009 ES, is one of over 1,600 asteroids near Earth. A minor change in its flight path could have devastating effects. Scientists believe an asteroid similar in size was responsible for the demise of the dinosaurs.
Former U.S. Secretary of State Colin Powell's emails were recently leaked, and the latest revelations have come from them in confirmation that the U.S. is well aware of the real extent of Israel's nuclear arsenal. RT's Paula Sleer has the details.
If you look at this leaked email correspondence of the then U.S. Secretary of State Colin Powell, what certainly is clear is that Powell acknowledges Israel's nuclear arsenal. Now, this has always been an open secret, particularly between the United States and Israel. It is, if you can call it, nuclear ambiguity. Here in Israel, whenever you question Israeli politicians as to whether or not Israel has nuclear weapons, they always answer with the standard no comment. And this is so as not to confirm or deny, and also leave a question mark as to how many nuclear weapons Israel has, if indeed it does have. But what we see in this email correspondence also is Powell rejecting at that time assessments that Iran was a year away from building a nuclear bomb. Powell also goes on to say that Iran's nuclear arsenal and rational self-interest meant that the construction and the testing of any kind of Iranian nuclear weapons would be a harshly unlikely policy decision by the Iranian leadership. Take a look at some of the correspondence.
Anyway, Iranians can't use a nuclear bomb if they finally make one. The boys in Tehran know Israel has 200, all targeted on Tehran. As Ahmadinejad said, what would we do with one? Polish it?
2 states in the South have declared a state of emergency after an oil spill was discovered last week near Birmingham, Alabama. 250,000 gallons of oil have now leaked, and there are concerns that the pipeline might still be leaking. RT's Alexei Yarashevsky has that report.
Another day, another oil spill. This time, 250,000 gallons of gasoline were leaked from a pipeline operated by Colonial Pipeline Company running from Houston to New York. The pipeline, which delivers more than 100 million gallons of refined oil products a day. The spill was discovered last week about 30 miles south of Birmingham, Alabama. Aerial pictures released by Colonial Pipeline show how large the spill was, as well as the operation to contain it. The company says there are more than 500 workers currently on site to remove the spilled material from water and soil. It is still unclear whether the pipe itself, which was shut down immediately last Friday when the leak was discovered, might have some petrol remaining in it, and thus it might still be leaking, as admitted by Colonial Pipeline's spokesperson. He also said that the actual rupture has not yet been excavated due to safety precautions, and the cause of the leak remains unknown yet. And now the 2 southern states affected by the spill have imposed state of emergency. Such executive order was signed by Georgia Governor Nathan Deal on Tuesday, and on Thursday his colleague in Alabama, Robert Bentley, followed suit. In a statement, Alabama governor said, "I do hereby declare a state of emergency for 30 days unless sooner terminated. During this state of emergency, any rule, regulation, or practice of the gas industry contrary to this declaration of emergency is hereby suspended until this proclamation is terminated." Such decision was made primarily because of concerns about fuel shortages in the wake of the spill. And Governor Bentley also reminded that it was unlawful to hike fuel prices amid this crisis. Colonial Pipeline admitted that parts of Georgia, Alabama, Tennessee, the Carolinas will be the first markets to be impacted by any potential disruption in supplies. It is, however, unclear at this point what the environmental impact of the spill has been, although EPA specialists on site claim that there is no danger to residents or wildlife in the area. This story echoes the one we reported on last month in Louisiana, where oil spills have become almost a daily occurrence. And similarly with that situation, the spill in Alabama does not make nationwide news, sparking concerns among environmentalists that it takes only a really big spill like the Deepwater Horizon in the Gulf of Mexico for this type of environmental catastrophe to be noticed. Alexei Rashevsky, RT, reporting from Washington, D.C.
Action Air One right here, getting the big new view here. Brand new video today of a sinkhole property at the Mosaic plant in Polk County. That water, we're told, is radioactive. It's toxic and it's flowing deep underground. And today we're focused on finding just how far that water is flowing and whether or not it's safe for the people who live nearby to drink. The Now's Ryan Race joining us live from the plant in Mulberry. And Ryan, any word yet on why the company Mosaic kept this sinkhole a secret for 3 weeks?
Well, they're telling us they did the right thing by notifying the regulatory agency, and they didn't tell the public because there wasn't a risk to the public. That's their words. We're standing here on the edge of Mosaic's property. This is the New Wales plant just in Polk County, right across the Hillsborough County line, where, as you said, right now they're kind of in crisis mode, dealing with a massive sinkhole right beyond that smokestack there, a mile or two, that has completely drained about a 215 million gallon pond of toxic radioactive water used in the fertilizing manufacturing process. Now here's this video you got to see, taken earlier by Action Air 1. We've been talking about it all day long. It's really unreal. According to Mosaic, the sinkhole stretches 45 feet wide at the surface, and they think it stretches all the way down to the aquifer, some 300 feet below the surface. Eventually, once the entire pond is drained, that waterfall you see will stop. But neighbors we talked to are very nervous, and you can understand why, about how the toxic water underground could affect their drinking wells. Here's what I asked a Mosaic engineer. If you have kids who lived 3 miles away, would you let them drink the water?
Yes, I would. The water is safe to drink, and it will remain safe to drink.
Now, Mosaic is telling us that the contaminated water has not flowed past the immediate area, and they have activated actually a recovery well that's designed to sort of catch this contaminated water. But as you may expect, people in the area are still very nervous. You know, there's actually a neighborhood on the south side of the plant. There's another neighborhood out here on the north side where we spent a lot of time this afternoon. And guys, you got to understand where they're coming from. They have kids, they have families. There's even a pregnant woman not too far from here. They're nervous. They're playing it safe. They don't really want to believe what Mosaic is saying, and they're not going to believe them, according to the folks we talked to, until they come out and test their well water and tell them it's safe. So until then, they're going to be drinking bottled water. They're not going to get anywhere near their wells. Live in Polk County, Ryan Ray.